So you're thinking about getting a Tesla, or you've already gotten one, congratulations, but you want to become more familiar with it because we all know that Tesla is one of the most technologically advanced cars ever made. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you the ultimate Tesla owner's guide for the Model 3 and Model Y going into 2023. So by the end of this video, you'll know everything you need to know to be a good, knowledgeable Tesla owner. Let's start off with the exterior. Every Tesla comes with 2 key cards, and this is the key to unlock and drive the car. All you have to do is press it up to the B pillar and the car will unlock, and now you can open the door. Same with locking the door. Hold it up against the B pillar and the car will be automatically locked. But this is just a backup method. The primary method is using your smartphone. So once you have the Tesla app on your phone and Bluetooth enabled, when you walk up to the car, it's going to be automatically unlocked so you can open the door and get in and drive. It'll automatically drive with your phone in your pocket. And when you walk away, it'll automatically lock. And if you're a little confused about the door handles, don't worry, it's a one-handed motion. Put the thumb, press in, pull out. Once you get used to it, it's very quick, bam. If this is your first electric vehicle or your first Tesla, you might be excited for this. This is the front trunk. All Teslas come with front trunk areas, AKA frunks. And the only way to open this frunk, you can't do it from here at all. It has to be from the phone or from the touchscreen. Okay, when you open it, it clicks up and then you can just raise it up. There is a proper way to close this. Set it down. It's slightly propped open, so you just gently press down on it and now it's closed. You hear it latch, you're good to go. Now the rear trunk is automatic on both the Model 3 and Model Y, and you can open it from your phone, the touchscreen, or there's a button that you press. And here, there's a button to close it automatically right here. If this opens up too high, so for example, if you have a garage that's too low, you can actually adjust this. Just pull this down to whatever height that you want it, press and hold the button right here on the back. You'll hear a little confirmation sound, and now when you open it and close it, it will only open up to that height that you set it. So here we go, let's try it. And now it's opening up to that set height that I set it at. If you want to go all the way back to the top, you can do that, raise it to its maximum height, and I'll save it again. This right here is your charging port. You may not know, it's pretty discreet, but it's always on the driver rear side. There are multiple different ways to open this. Of course, you can do it from your phone, the touchscreen inside, and you can also press on it. And then you can press down on it if you want to close it as well. But the main way that you'll open and close this charging port is from the button on the charging cable. So if you have the mobile connector or any type of home charging, the Tesla connector, you just press that button on that cable and it will automatically open via Bluetooth. If you get the smallest available wheels for the Model 3 or Model Y, they'll come with these aero caps that are actually removable. So if you don't like the way they look, they just pop right off. And now you have an actual rim underneath. So if you prefer that look, you can buy little lug nut covers from Tesla to pop right on there. Now these are actually cameras on the exterior of the car. These help with your autopilot and full self-driving capabilities. So there are multiple cameras throughout the exterior of the vehicle. If anytime you get some type of error on the screen saying your cameras are blocked, you may want to make sure that these are clean. Another thing to note about a Tesla or an EV, it doesn't have the traditional grille. You see it has a small grille on the bottom, but majority of the front, the paint is actually susceptible to rock chips and stuff like that, more so than a gasoline car, for example. I installed paint protection film. It's a clear film that you can put on. You can do it yourself, or you can have a professional studio shop do it. I've had professionals do it for me because they do a much better job, but you can do it yourself if you want to save some money, but highly recommend doing that, at least for the front bumper, if you plan to drive this a lot, because I never have to worry about rock chips or anything like that. Now, the most important and expensive part of any electric vehicle is the battery. And it's hard to keep track of the battery's health over time, which is why today's sponsor is something all EV owners should have. Recurrent is a free software tool that makes performance, range, and value more transparent by using battery performance reports to give you confidence not only during ownership, but when buying and selling too. Odometers are less informative for electric vehicles because mileage is not a leading indicator of overall battery health. But with Recurrent, over 50 EVs are currently supported, and all it takes is 2 weeks of battery data to generate the free EV Owner Insights report, which analyzes daily battery data from the vehicle and compares it to thousands of similar vehicles. After authenticating just once, owners receive updated monthly reports. Then when you are ready to sell or trade, you can run a free valuation report to command higher trade-in values. And since used EV buyers are afraid of getting a car with a bad battery, these valuation reports put buyers' minds at ease. In fact, some EVs that have Recurrent reports are getting $4,000 to $7,000 more. Recurrent is completely free for individual drivers, but it's currently only in the US right now. Click the link below to sign up for Recurrent today. So let's quickly take a look at the physical controls and the buttons that are at your disposal while you're in the driver's seat. As you may know, the Model 3 and the Model Y are very software-centric and touchscreen-focused vehicles, so you don't have that many physical buttons, which is pretty cool. I like that about this. It's very minimal. All right, so you have a stalk on either side of the wheel. The left stalk, of course, does the turn signals, just like with any other vehicle. Press it all the way up to keep the turn signal turned on until you make the turn, all the way down for the left. But you also have these half presses like this, and it turns the blinker on 3 times. So those are for changing lanes, passing people, merging, stuff like that. The left stalk also controls the high beams. So if you press it forward, it turns it on or off. You pull it back, it's a quick flick of the high beams. I rarely have to mess with the high beams because Teslas have auto high beams, and it will automatically recognize when you're coming up, approaching somebody, and it will automatically turn off your high beams and then turn them back on after the person has passed, which is pretty cool. The left stalk also has a button that presses in, and when you press that, it turns on the wipers for one single swipe. And if you press all the way in, it cleans your windshield with the windshield wiper fluid. And just like with the high beams, Tesla has auto wipers, so it will try to sense when the windshield is wet or when it's raining, and it'll automatically turn the wipers on and turn them off when it stops raining. And the right stalk controls are all driving controls, which we'll go over in the driving section, but quickly, all the way up is reverse, all the way down is drive, and you press in for park. And then the only other buttons you really have left are the steering wheel buttons right here, the scroll wheels. These are multi-use function buttons. So not only can you press them in, you can press them left, right, and they're also scroll wheels. So the left steering wheel button controls audio playback. So if you press it in, it's the play pause button for your music. And if you press it to the right or to the left respectively, that will skip forward to the next song or go back to the previous song. And then this scroll wheel on the left side button will control the volume of the playback of whatever is playing on the screen and in your vehicle. And the right scroll wheel has a couple different options, mostly related to driving the vehicle and autopilot. So we'll go over this more in the driving autopilot section. However, there is one use of this that is not autopilot related. If you press in on the right scroll wheel, it brings up the voice command button. And this has all kinds of voice commands for this vehicle. And you can tell it to open the glove box or turn on the air conditioner and set it to a certain temperature, or turn on your wipers. So, and look, it just opened my glove box. So you know it works. And a quick tip regarding the scroll wheels, if you press both of them in at the same time and hold for a few seconds, that will reboot the touchscreen. So if you ever have any issues with the touchscreen or any errors or something's freezing, you can occasionally do that reboot. And for the windows, it has 2 different settings. You can press it all the way down on any of the windows and it automatically goes down. Same all the way up. If you pull it all the way back up, automatically goes up without having to hold it down. But it also has these half presses if you want to just dial it in and just roll it up and roll it down in increments. And also to open the door, you have this door icon button. That's the electronic door opener. You'll be using that 99.9% of the time. And when you press it, it electronically pops out the door. Now it also has a manual emergency latch right here. So if you lift up on that, that's the manual door release for when the car in emergency situations does not have power or electricity. You can use that manual latch, but for your normal daily driving, you'll want to use the electronic button to open the door. Now let's talk about the most important part of Tesla ownership. Big touchscreen in the center here. This is what you're going to use to control the car 99.9% of the time. So you're going to want to make sure you know the ins and outs of the touchscreen. Divided up into 2 sections. The left-hand side is your driver controls, and this will change based on if you're parked or if you're driving. When you're parked, you'll see a visualization of your car here, and you can do different functions. You can open the trunk, you can open the front, you can open your charge port door, and you can lock and unlock your vehicle from that button. And then you have the map and GPS view in this big right-hand side of the screen, which takes up the majority of the screen. Here is your percentage, the remaining battery percentage. You can see I have 54%, and you can quickly change from percentage to estimated mileage remaining by just tapping on that. Here you have the same lock and unlock button if you want to lock the doors and unlock the doors, the time, the temperature outside. Here is the quick on and off for Sentry mode, which Tesla Sentry mode is the surveillance footage software feature for Teslas that uses the exterior cameras to automatically record around your vehicle. So if it detects motion, if somebody comes and walks up or tries to get in your car, it automatically detects and starts recording the video onto a USB drive that you have plugged into your glove box. Here shows the current driver profile, and you can switch between driver profiles here. And this top right button can toggle between the direction you're facing or always north is up. And here, of course, you have the navigate search bar where you can type in any address or any place. So if we type in like Target, it's going to show you the list of nearest Target locations, the nearest first at the top. And if you tap on that, it'll automatically route you to that place. And the map area has a few different options as well. When you tap on it, you can see that the button menu quickly goes away and comes back up. So if you want to enable some of these options, the Earth icon, if you tap on that, it goes between the normal view and then the satellite view. I like to leave it on satellite because I like to see the different colors and stuff like that. This traffic icon, you turn it off and on to see real live traffic visualizations to see where backups are and where it's congested. This icon right here, if you toggle it on and off, you can see points of interest that show up on the map. And finally, this charging icon will quickly bring up the list of your nearest supercharger locations if you need to charge, and you can quickly tap on them and it will automatically route you to that supercharger, which is really cool and useful. Now here is your navigation. So when you enter a destination, it brings up the navigation. You can tap on this first step and it will list out all the remaining steps, and then you can quickly consolidate it. And it also gives you the route and then the directions, and you can choose different routes. And this will show you your estimated range when you arrive at your destination and your estimated arrival time, along with the estimated trip length and the mileage. And then you can go in here and end trip to cancel the trip. And you can see that this map, it works similar to like an iPad or a tablet. You can use two fingers to move it around, zoom in and out. And here, if you want to go into the navigation settings, you can click this ellipses and it's going to give you an option to add a stop. You can edit your trip, and you can go into your navigation settings, change the navigation volume, and you can enable some of these settings right here. And this window is your media player window, and you can quickly dismiss that by swiping it down like I just did. And then if you want to bring it back up, tap on it right there, and you can make it larger and kind of sort through your recently played or your favorites and your sources as well from there. So you can also swipe left to go into your card details, and this shows you your current drive details, how many kilowatt hours of energy you used on the current drive since the last charge, your driving efficiency, and your odometer. And then you can go and see your tire pressure if you swipe one more time. Now let's move on to the bottom bar of the screen. The first icon on the very left-hand side is the car icon, and that just brings up your settings for the car. Now I did an entire video and deep diving into all of my settings. I will leave a link to that if you want to go and check that out. But here on the control screen, it's just quick controls, pretty self-explanatory. You got your glove box, wipers are on this screen as well. Sentry mode recording, mirrors, you can adjust your steering wheel. Pedals and steering just gives you some settings for how you want your car to accelerate and steer. Of course, Teslas use regenerative braking, so there's one pedal driving. When you let off the accelerator, it automatically comes to a stop. Charging, this is your charging menu, shows you your current charging level, and then this is where you can set your daily charging limit, which I'll go over that more in the charging section later in this video. Here you have your autopilot settings, your lock settings where you can set driver profiles tied to certain phones, your light settings, display settings, trip settings, navigation settings, which we've already seen, safety settings. And here you just have different settings that you can customize. Service shows you the tire pressure, and then you have software, and this shows you your software version. Finally, you have your upgrade section where you can purchase upgrades that you have available for your vehicle. And at the very top right, you have your MyQ garage opener account. If you have that, that's optional. You have your notification settings, which this gives you all your most recent notifications that you've had on the vehicle itself. And then here is your Bluetooth, connect to a Bluetooth device. And then here you have LTE, shows your LTE signal, but here you can also connect to your Wi-Fi network at home. So you definitely want to do that because once you're connected to Wi-Fi at home, it automatically downloads your software updates. So it's pretty hard to see, but this is the climate control. So if you tap on this, it's going to turn on climate control, and you can tap on it again to bring up the menu. You can also swipe down on this at any time. So you can swipe up from anywhere on the bottom bar. If you swipe up, it'll bring up that climate control quickly. So that's a way to quickly bring up climate control, or you can just tap on the temperature degree number right there. And to adjust the temperature, you can just tap on these arrows, or you can just swipe quickly, and then you can split if you want the passenger to be different from the driver. And if you have the air blowing out of the vents right here like this, you can just use your finger to adjust where the air is blowing, and you can split it off into 2 ways like that. It's pretty cool. And here you have your defrost, your AC button, your fan speed is right here. You can turn on biohazard defense mode right there to HEPA filter. Schedule, you can schedule your car to preheat and precondition automatically. That will keep the climate control on when you leave the vehicle if you have that enabled. You have dog mode if you're leaving a dog in the car. Make sure you want to put that on. Camp mode, if you're camping out, it'll keep the climate control on at all times until it reaches a certain battery percentage. And then here are the seat heaters on either side. You can turn on maximum level, 3 different levels, or completely off. You have your heated steering wheel option there. And then also you have the rear option that you can turn on the rear fan on or off. And you can also enable the rear seat heaters from here. You can do all off if you want to quickly turn those off. And here are your main icons that you have pinned to your dock here. And you can actually adjust these and customize this. So if you click on this ellipses, press and hold, and you can add different icons down to the bottom. So add whatever you'd like. You can add up to 5. So if I want to put a quick shortcut to the wipers, I'm just going to drag that right there. These icons are pretty self-explanatory. You have the Zoom app, you have calendar, web browser, toy box, which has all the different games and things that you can do for fun with the touchscreen. And as you can see, in addition to the 5 pinned apps, it always shows you the most recently opened app on that very right-hand side. And this is the energy graph, which gives you information about the energy that's consumed by different aspects of the car. So driving, climate, battery conditioning. Pretty cool to look in here and see what is using up your battery in your car. And of course you have streaming apps like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, YouTube, and then you have different streaming apps as far as podcasts, as for TuneIn. And then you have things like Apple Music, which is newly added if you're an Apple Music subscriber. Of course, it has Spotify. If you're a Spotify member like me, I always like to have the cam pinned to the very left-hand side because it gives you a quick access to look at your rear view cameras. You can see the backup camera, and then you can also see the rear side cameras. And the Dashcam app lets you view all the recorded clips from your driving and any Sentry Mode clips that it's recorded as well. And in the bottom right, you have the volume adjustment. You can tap on those and swipe it just like with the temperature. And here you can go in there and change your audio settings. And that pretty much covers the touchscreen. Now we are at the funnest part of owning a Tesla. Finally, the driving. This car drives like no other, and you will be pleasantly surprised if you've never driven one. And the car really doesn't ever shut off. You really never even have to power it off. It just kind of goes to sleep mode. It's always on. Once you get in, the screen will automatically come on when you sit down, and you are ready to drive. Press the brake and push it all the way up to go into reverse. And then you can go all the way down into drive, and you don't have to press the brake to switch between reverse and drive as long as you're going 5 miles an hour or under. And now we're going into drive. When you let off the accelerator, it's going to come to a stop. That's called regenerative braking. You don't really have to press the brake pedal hardly at all. 99% of the time, you can drive around with just one pedal, just using the accelerator pedal. When you let off, it'll brake, it'll come to a stop. So when you're driving, you have your left hand part of the screen where you can see your driver controls. You see your visualizations, you can see yourself in the lane, you can see cars ahead of us, and that's what the Tesla is seeing based on its cameras. And here you have your miles per hour, your speedometer, and at the very top left, you have your different gears, and you only have 4 that are listed there: park, reverse, neutral, and drive. All Teslas come with Autopilot, which is Tesla's advanced driver assistance system, and that does lane keeping and follow assist, and it kind of keeps you in the lane, keeps the distance, and keeps you at a set speed. But it also has smart cruise control, which is called traffic aware cruise control. It keeps the distance from the car in front of you, and that's it. And then you have this little steering wheel icon that shows up. When that shows up, that's not there all the time, but when it shows up, that means you can enable Autopilot. And to enable Autopilot, all you gotta do is do a double tap down on the right stalk. And then you hear that confirmation and you see the lanes turn blue right here, and you see the steering wheel icon turn blue as well. That means Autopilot is enabled and active and kind of in control of the car. Now, you're still ultimately responsible for being in control of the vehicle, so you always have to keep a hand on the wheel at all times when you're using Autopilot. If you don't, it'll occasionally beep at you and warn you saying, hey, put your hand on the wheel to make sure that you are still paying attention. Now, this max set speed right here, that's the maximum set speed that you have set for Autopilot or traffic aware cruise control. But we're on Autopilot and the maximum set speed is 64. That's what I've set it at. That means it'll go 64 miles an hour maximum. Won't go past that. It'll slow down if it needs to, if there's a car in front of me, but it won't ever go past that unless I tell it to. And the way you increase that or decrease that is using your right scroll wheel. So you can scroll the scroll wheel incrementally by 1 at a time, up or down, and it'll increase that max set speed or decrease it. And you can also do a fast scroll of the scroll wheel to do it to the next 5 or 10th place. So if I want to go 65, 70, and here we go, it's going to brake for us because we're coming up to a stoplight. So Autopilot is braking for us automatically. And you can see my set speed is set to 50 maximum, but it's slowing down. And once we speed back up, it'll do it all by itself. So Autopilot is still enabled, as you can see from that blue steering wheel icon. And to disengage Autopilot, there are a couple different ways you can disengage Autopilot. You can press on the brake and it will automatically disengage Autopilot. You can steer the steering wheel back and forth pretty abruptly, so you can swerve to the left or right, or you can tap up on the right stalk, which is what I usually do. So now Autopilot is disengaged and I'm driving manually again. So Autopilot is 2 taps down, traffic aware cruise control is 1 tap down, and this is traffic aware cruise control, 1 tap down. So now you can see that the steering wheel icon didn't change because that's Autopilot, but it did enable the max set speed. That's how you know traffic aware cruise control is enabled. And you can just set it at a max speed and it will keep the distance between the car ahead, and it won't surpass that max speed, whatever you set it at. So now I'm on cruise control, and then of course, if I want to change lanes, the cool thing about one of the latest software updates is has automatic turn signals. So if I enable my turn signal and I change lanes, it automatically turned my turn signal off once I completed the lane change. That's a setting you can set in your settings. And as you can see from that setting and the auto wipers and the auto high beams, basically Tesla is trying to make this car make all the decisions for you. It wants to eventually achieve full autonomy so that the car drives itself. We're not there yet, but if you have full self-driving capability, which this car does not have, all I have is standard Autopilot. If you have full self-driving capability, you are going to be able to do much more on Autopilot and full self-driving. It'll actually stop at stop signs and take left turns and stuff like that. But for most drivers, standard Autopilot is all that you need to have a really good experience in a Tesla. Now, on certain roads, Autopilot will be limited for what the max speed that you can set it to. For example, this road, it won't let me set my max speed past 60 miles an hour because I'm on a road that is 55 miles an hour. However, you are able to press the accelerator while you're on Autopilot. So I'm pressing the accelerator and I'm going past this maximum set speed that it's allowing. I'm going 76, 75. Autopilot will still keep within the lane, but it will not brake. So right here, it gives you a little message. It says cruise control will not brake. Accelerator pedal is currently pressed. You will lose that automatic braking feature if you are pressing the accelerator past that set speed on Autopilot. But on highways and interstates, it'll let you go all the way up to 85 miles an hour currently. Now, when you're on traffic aware cruise control, there is no limit. You can set that max speed to 85 or 90. I think 90 is the maximum speed limit you can set on traffic aware cruise control. And this bar right here, you can see that it's moving. The black bar goes to the right, then it goes to the left and turns green. That is the regenerative braking icon that shows you how much energy is either being used by the vehicle when you accelerate. So for example, if I press the accelerator, ooh-wee, it's going to shoot all the way up to the right and show you, wow, you're using a lot of energy right now. Now if I let off the accelerator, regenerative braking is kicking in, and it's showing you that the green bar, that means energy is being fed back into the battery. So it actually gains a little bit of energy when it brakes, which is really cool. And sometimes in cold weather, you'll see that you have little dots on the left side of the bar. That means that regenerative braking is not at its full capacity. The battery still needs to warm up a little bit before it can reach maximum regen. So sometimes when it's really, really cold, those dots will be pretty much filling up the entire left bar, and you won't have that much braking resistance when you let off the accelerator until the battery warms up. So that's just something to pay attention to if you live in colder climates. So now we're at a stop, and if you have hold enabled in your settings, when you let off the accelerator, it'll actually come to a complete stop and hold itself there, even when you're on an incline or a decline. You don't have to press the brake at all. But driving a Tesla is so much fun. Just the acceleration is so much faster than any other gas car that you've probably ever driven. It makes merging onto freeways such as this so easy and passing so effortless. We are on the freeway now, and I'm going to enable Autopilot again. Double tap down on the right stalk, and now Autopilot's enabled. And Autopilot will automatically recognize the speed limit on this road. So it recognizes that this road speed limit is 65 miles an hour, and it actually recognizes the signs. The cameras will recognize it, and if you go into a new speed limit zone, it'll automatically adjust your speed limit down based on that speed limit. And as I pointed out before, the right scroll wheel can adjust that set max speed for you. However, it can also be pressed left and right to adjust the follow distance. So if you press it to the left, it will increase the follow distance of the car ahead. And you can go all the way to 7, which leaves a big gap between you and the car ahead, or you can put it all the way to 2. And that leaves the shortest amount of space in between the car ahead of you. It's just personal preference. I prefer it just to leave it at 2. And one of the best things about having full self-driving compared to Autopilot is that it comes with automatic lane changes. So if I had full self-driving, the car would automatically go into the left lane and pass people. It'll turn the turn signal on and it'll turn it off. It'll do it all by itself. But with Autopilot, if I want to change lanes and pass people, I have to do it manually. But when I'm on Autopilot, the steering wheel is pretty stiff because it's pretty much controlling the lane right now. But if I want to easily change lanes while I'm on Autopilot, I just enable the turn signal, and it allows me to easily change into the left lane, and then I can quickly turn on Autopilot again. So just know that if you have Autopilot and you're changing lanes, it may seem a little cumbersome to have to disengage Autopilot and then re-engage it every time you change lanes and pass people. However, the more you practice it, it's pretty easy once you enable the turn signal, and it lets you get over pretty quickly, and then you can just enable Autopilot. And you don't even have to wait till you get fully back into the lane when you enable Autopilot. As long as you're mostly back into that lane, you can enable it and it'll work just fine. Now, Autopilot does require your hands to be on the wheel frequently. You can take your hands off the wheel for a short amount of time, but eventually you'll get this window that pops up that says apply slight turning force to the steering wheel, and it'll blink blue, and that means you need to touch the steering wheel, and all you gotta do is just give it a little nudge, and that message will go away, and you're letting the car know that you are still in control. To avoid that, I always just keep one hand on the wheel, usually right in the bottom corner while Autopilot's enabled, and it usually has enough resistance on the wheel for it to know that I'm holding onto the wheel. And not only do they require hands on the wheel, but they're starting to implement the cabin facing camera. So there's a camera right up here above the rear view mirror, and it faces the interior of the cabin, and it knows if you're looking down or looking away from the road. And if you got your phone out you're looking to the left or to the right or down for too long, it'll do the same message. It'll pop up saying, pay attention to the road. And if you don't do that, and it'll go too long, it'll start beeping at you, and eventually, if you don't do it in time, it's going to beep, 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 freak out and disengage Autopilot, and it's going to alert you, and it won't let you enable Autopilot until the very next drive. So just make sure you're paying attention to the road and keeping that hand on the wheel as much as you can. One of the best things about a Tesla is the trip planning, because it's all seamless and built in. When you put a address into your navigation, if you're going on a trip, it automatically builds in the supercharger stops on the route and guides you to them and tells you how long that you need to charge at each one. So let's say I'm going to Asheville, North Carolina here from Louisville, Kentucky. I put the destination in the address bar there, telling me I need to charge in London, Kentucky. So it automatically put that in there and it's going to guide me there. It says I'm going to get there with 11% battery remaining. Estimated charge time is around 30 minutes and arrive in Asheville with 11% battery. And the estimates are really accurate. So this is the London supercharger that it's guiding me to. And if you tap on that on the screen, it gives you information about that supercharger. There are 14 stalls available. The max is 250 kilowatt. That means it's a V3 supercharger. It doesn't show the 3 lightning bolts on here, but if you click on the supercharger icon there, so it's only showing me the fastest superchargers, V2 and V3, which are 150 kilowatt and 250 kilowatt. If you can, try to go to the 250 kilowatt, but just trust whatever the Tesla tells you to charge at, because that's going to be the most ideal and most efficient route for you. But if you're in a pinch and you need to see all the available charging, you can enable these 1 lightning bolt and 2 lightning bolts, and it's going to show you the slower public chargers that are available as well. Now, they're not superchargers, so superchargers are your first option on a road trip because those are going to be the fastest. But sometimes if you find yourself in a situation, or maybe if you want to stay at a hotel that has Tesla charging, it's slower, but hey, at least you have those options if you need them. Tesla has built the largest global charging infrastructure for fast charging for EVs. And one of the biggest reasons I bought my Tesla, along with, I know many other Tesla buyers, really prioritize this Tesla supercharger network and think it's one of the best benefits. And it really is, because you can pretty much travel anywhere in the United States just on supercharging alone. They've put them near eating and shopping. So when you're at the supercharger, most likely you're just going to back right in. And then it's very simple. You just pull the plug out and plug it into your car. Your credit card is tied to your Tesla account, so it will automatically bill you, so you don't have to swipe your credit card or anything like that. And once you're plugged in, you can come back to your screen and tap on the battery icon up there to bring up the charging section. Here is your charging limit. If you need all the 100% of the battery, you can put that all the way up to the top there, and that will charge to 100%, and then 90%, 80%, 70%. It's got little notches, but you can see right here your charge limit as you set it. I set it to 79%, and it says I have 20 minutes remaining, and I'm charging at 300 miles an hour. 6 kilowatt hours has been added since I've started charging, and then that's the kilowatts that's currently charging at. And you can see how much the current session is costing right here. But one of the main things to remember about supercharging is the lower state of charge that your battery is when you arrive and start charging, the faster your battery is going to charge. So for example, if you arrive at a supercharger with less than 20% of battery remaining, it's going to charge really quickly from 10% to 60%. That's going to be really fast compared to if you were to arrive with 50% of battery remaining and you want to charge to 100%, because that last 20% on the NCA batteries is going to take a very long time. So really, ideally, when you're traveling with supercharger stations, charge up to 80% and then leave and then go on to your next supercharger. And the maps really do a really good job at adding the supercharger stops in that way, so where you don't have to charge to 100% every time. But if you have one of these standard range batteries, you should be able to charge to 100% no problem. But with NCA batteries like mine, the long range models, you're going to want to avoid charging to 100% unless you absolutely need all of that range, which sometimes you will. And if you tap on the supercharging tips, it's going to tell you want to find the fastest supercharger. Look for the 3 volts as much as you can when you're going to a supercharger. Sometimes you have no choice though. You're just going to have to charge whatever supercharger is on your route. And when you navigate to the supercharger, your battery will automatically precondition for faster charging, which is awesome. It's one of the best benefits of driving a Tesla. You want to arrive with 20% battery less, like we mentioned before. The lower the state of charge when you arrive, it's going to maximize your charging rate. Leave space in between cars. Move your car after charging, so idle fees will apply if you leave your car. So let's say I leave my car and I go to use the bathroom or go shopping or get something to eat. Once it hits that charge limit, I'll only have like 5 minutes or so to come and get the car and stop it from charging before idle fees start to kick in. So you don't want to leave your car sitting on the charger after it's reached that limit. Luckily, I've never had to wait for a supercharger on a trip. Supercharger superchargers are really only meant for road trips. The majority of your charging will be done at home when electricity is the cheapest, which is one of the best benefits of owning an electric vehicle is you're charging at home and waking up to essentially a full charge. So if you have home charging, that is an ideal setup for an EV and a Tesla. So for your daily driving, I set mine to 80% maximum, and it just charges in my garage overnight, and it stops automatically once it hits 80%. The only time I charge more than 80% is if I'm about to head out on a road trip. But in order to maximize the longevity of the battery, you don't want to charge past 90% for your daily driving. And if you live in a colder climate during the wintertime, during colder temperatures, your range will take a hit as well. So just keep that in mind. You can charge on a normal outlet, like a normal 110 outlet. It'll regain 5 miles of estimated range per 1 hour of charge, which means if you charge it for 12 hours a night, that'll regain around 60 miles of range. However, most people, like myself, choose to install a 240 volt outlet in their garage or wherever they charge at home. And that'll put your charging rate to around 30 miles of range per hour of charge, which allows you to essentially go from 0% to 100% overnight in about 10 hours, which I've never had to do. But if I needed to do that, I could do that on my 240 volt using the Tesla mobile connector. When I bought my car, that came with my car. But now if you buy a Tesla, you're going to have to pay $200 extra for that at checkout. I think, in my opinion, that's the best way to charge your car because you can plug that into a 240 volt outlet at home and get a really good charging rate. And then you can also take that with you on road trips because that's what I do whenever I go to a family's house. That if I need to charge at their house, if we're staying there for a couple of days, I'll just plug into their outlet outside, and it does a slow trickle charge over a day or two, and I can leave there with a full charge and don't have to worry about charging. That compared to the wall connector, your wall connector is the other option if you want to do home charging. That's a little bit more expensive, but it does charge at a little bit faster rate, but it's not enough in my opinion to justify the cost. It's stationary, you install it there and it stays there. You can't take it on trips with you. So the mobile connector, I think, serves both purposes. It does home charging and then travel charging. But overall, in summary, charging is very easy for this car. Supercharging is very seamless. I think on average, I'm probably anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes on a road trip for each charging stop. By the time, you go and use the bathroom and stretch a little bit, 15 minutes, 20 minutes has gone by, and it really has not been an issue. This is the Tesla mobile app, and it's free for iOS and Android, and it really enhances the ownership of a Tesla because it gives you a lot of controls at your fingertips because all Tesla vehicles have built-in cellular LTE signal and they're constantly connected to the internet. Here it shows you your vehicle. You have quick controls at the top here, the 4, and you can actually customize this by clicking and holding, and you can add different, whatever your favorite controls are, your most used controls to the 4 quick controls, the shortcuts on that home screen. So I have locks so I can quickly lock and unlock my car. I can turn the climate control on or off, pop the front trunk, and turn on and turn off Sentry mode. That's what I have. But you can add from all these different functions right here and then just hit save. So it's really nice to have those shortcuts right there. Here is your live camera. As long as you have Sentry mode enabled, which I have the shortcut right there, and you can see that Sentry mode is enabled by that red recording dot. This gives you a live camera option. So I can go in here and actually see live video feeds of the Tesla cameras. So there is the front camera, there is the side camera, here is the other side camera, and here is the rear camera. And the latest update actually gave us the option to view the cabin camera as well, which is really cool. The control section gives you different options, sort of like the shortcuts on the front there, but you can open your front, open your trunk, lock and unlock the car, open your charge port door, flash the lights, honk the horn, start it. So this will actually let somebody drive it if you are, let's say you're on vacation and you need a neighbor to move your car for some reason. Maybe you're getting a bad storm and you need it to move it to the garage, and maybe you forgot to put it in the garage. You can hit start, and it gives the a stranger or whoever you have over there at your car 2 minutes to actually get inside the car and drive it. And it will not require a key or anything like that. And one of my favorite features is you can vent the window, so it cracks all 4 windows at once. When you hit that button, you can do that. So I'll do that right now, and it'll crack all the windows. So this is very useful in the summertime when I don't want the interior to get too hot. And then you can also close all the windows. And here you can go into the climate control and actually turn on your heater or your air conditioner. You can defrost car. You can set it to any temperature you want. You can turn on the seat heater from here. You can turn on the steering wheel heater as well. And you can also vent the windows again, just like with the previous controls section. The location section shows you the exact location of the vehicle, and you can see the closest nearby superchargers as well on that screen, the location screen. And then if you tap on that, it actually sends that address to the car. So you can click on a supercharger and it'll send that to the car. Next time you get into the car, it'll automatically route you to that supercharger, which is really cool. And then you can also tap these buttons up here. This one will actually bring up your maps to take you to your car. The summon button, if you have enhanced autopilot or full self-driving add-on, you can go into the summon and you can actually move your car forward or backward, and it'll drive by itself. So if you need it to back out of a tight spot, if you don't have enough room to get in, you can use this to have the car back out without anybody in the car, which is awesome and useful in certain situations. And then you have the schedule section where you can actually schedule your car to precondition by a certain time on weekdays or on all days. You can schedule it to charge during off-peak charging. If your electricity rates are cheaper at a certain time overnight, you can set that so that it charges at the most inexpensive rates, and then you can enable scheduled charging. The security and driver section lets you manage the drivers for the car along with the key cards and stuff like that, and you can actually put the car into valet mode, which will limit the speed limit and limit access to the glove box and trunk and stuff like that. It locks all that stuff and they can't get into it. And then you can also have a speed limit set mode. So if you maybe have your teenager driving your Tesla, you don't want them to go over a certain speed limit, you can set that in here. And Charge Stats is relatively new to the mobile app, and it shows you really interesting stats about your charging. So you can go in here and input whatever your charge rate is at home, how much your electricity costs, and it will automatically show you how much money you've spent on charging the car and how much gas savings you've had for the year and for the month. And you go in here and you can tap on these and change from kilowatt hours to percentage. So it shows you how many kilowatt hours I've charged at supercharger and at home. And then you have your upgrade section where you can purchase your optional add-ons, such as full self-driving if you don't have that, and then other things as well. And the service section lets you schedule service. Unfortunately, this is pretty much the only way to schedule service for your Tesla is through the app. So you want to make sure you are familiar with that. And if you ever need service, go in here and schedule request service. And then you can also see your history of service. Right here, it gives you all your invoices from all your past service requests and service appointments. And then you also have quick access to the video guides. That's really helpful as well. And then of course the owner's manual, and then roadside assistance. If you ever need roadside assistance, I've never had to use this, but you can go in here and request roadside assistance. And then at the very bottom, it shows your vehicle information, what type of vehicle you have along with your odometer and the VIN number and your Tesla software version. And you, at the very, very bottom, you can go to specs and warranty. And one last thing at the very top right is your profile for your Tesla account, and it shows you all the cars that are assigned under your Tesla account. See if Tesla insurance is available in your city or your state. You can go to the Tesla shop and shop for Tesla apparel and more. You can order a new car, a new Tesla from here, which is fun. And here you have your inbox, which sometimes you'll see occasional messages from Tesla show up here in the inbox. You have your loot box. So this was the referral program that sort of has been revamped, and you can see I have free supercharging miles remaining and when they expire, and then it shows you how many credits you have currently through the current referral program. And then you have your account settings, your app settings, and then you can add or remove products and help and then sign out. So those are pretty self-explanatory, but that's pretty much the gist of the Tesla mobile app. It's really nice to have that mobile app because it does come in handy a lot. And that is a wrap on the Ultimate Tesla Owner's Guide here in 2023 for the Model 3 and Model Y. Congratulations, you are now an expert Tesla owner and you learned everything in less than 45 minutes. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more Tesla and tech videos, and send this video to others who would benefit from it. If you know people who are getting a Tesla or are interested in Tesla and they want to learn everything that they need to know about a Model 3 and Model Y, send this to them. I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you for watching. My name is Andy, and I'll talk to you in the next one.